In the decade since Katrina, the New Orleans Police Department has been under siege. Plagued by budget cuts and internal corruption and general mismanagement, the net result has been fewer cops on the streets and rising crime rates across the city. One outspoken entrepreneur has taken matters into his own hands, helping to change the landscape of crime prevention in his neighborhood, and maybe even providing this city and others with a new model for policing. I'm Ryan Duffy, and this is Now What? The New Orleans Police Department has a long history of corruption, poor management, and civil rights violations that have earned it a reputation as one of the worst police forces in the country.
We've had our good times, we've had times that were not so good. There were investigations that gave us national attention in a very negative way.
5 current and former New Orleans police officers are accused of killing innocent people in the days following Hurricane Katrina and then covering up the crime.
The reputation of the department was bad. In 2011, the Justice Department came in and found that everything a police department can do wrong, NOPD was doing wrong.
The New Orleans police engaged in a pattern or practice of conduct that was both discriminatory and unconstitutional, and that too often undermined the public's trust and the city's efforts to effectively prevent crime.
When officers do things and they step out of line and then step outside of the law, it takes a long time for us to build community trust back.
In an effort to right the ship and root out corruption, Mayor Mitch Landrieu enacted a hiring freeze. Since 2010, the NOPD has shrunk by around 500 officers.
The size of the New Orleans Police Department is at a historic low, and the police response time to an emergency call is lagging.
You have people who are waiting for a police response, and we don't have enough police to respond.
The effects of an overextended PD and the accompanying rise in crime rates soon hit the famed French Quarter, the city's epicenter for tourism, a $6.7 billion industry that draws upwards of 9 million visitors a year.
Last summer, there was a shooting where 9 people were shot, 1 woman was killed. I think that was sort of a touch point for a lot of people in the quarter.
By early 2015, the New Orleans Advocate reported that average response times had risen to a staggering 1 hour and 19 minutes. The city had hit its breaking point. This is Sidney Torres, a New Orleans native whose waste management company made millions cleaning up the city after Hurricane Katrina. A brash entrepreneur who's certainly not afraid of controversy, Sidney became frustrated with the spike in crime in his neighborhood and set out to find a solution.
My home was robbed in 2014, and I couldn't believe it. I've lived in the same location in the French Quarter since 1998, and I've never had a problem with theft. To me, it opened up my eyes. I started calling community leaders, and they start telling me the problems they're having. They're trying to meet with the mayor. They want to get something done. Nothing's happening. So I placed a phone call to the mayor's office, and I tried to get a meeting. I didn't get a response. So I said, I'm going to make a commercial and put it on TV, and I'm going to call the mayor to action. The French Quarter is under siege by criminals. The problem can be fixed. It is only 6 blocks by 13 blocks. Mayor, you're the head of the company. You're like the CEO of the company. In those situations, I would hold you accountable. You're the head cheese. You're the one responsible. You need to fix it. We should hold the administration accountable for the failures of not protecting the French Quarter. Stand up for what's right and be heard. Join the movement at keepthefrenchquartersafe.com. He wasn't happy. His response was basically, why doesn't he put his money where his mouth is?
Rebuilding a city is not as easy as Mr. Torres seems to think it is. He made millions and millions and millions of dollars off of garbage contracts in the French Quarter, and maybe he should just take some of that money and do it himself if he thinks it's so easy. It's just not.
I thought it was kind of funny. Here's the mayor saying, put your money where your mouth is, but that'd be just like me saying with my company, when I have a problem, let me go get another big company to come help me, bail me out. But I took the challenge, and now we have an app.
Sidney created the French Quarter Task Force, a privatized police unit that employs off-duty cops in tech-enabled Polaris vehicles. A point of differentiation from other private security details is a user-friendly app for real-time crime reporting. We met up with Sidney and one of his developers to see the functionality at work.
So
Just saw a crime out on this street corner. I pull up the app, walk me through the user flow here.
Right, so you've opened up the app, simply click report a crime, and then the first thing they're presented with is a list of streets. It was very efficient. This is Sidney's idea to say, you know what? Streets, cross streets, boom, boom, done, right? So, I'm gonna say, okay, I'm on, Chartres, right? And that intersection with Barracks. And then this is very important. They are choosing the crime type, right? So, without them typing a lot of description in, they're saying, you know what? Someone was carrying weapons. And if I'm on a phone, you can send a picture if you want. And if not, you can optionally put in any other details you want to share. I'm going to put the word test in so police officers don't actually arrive to this house. And
so that's it.
And that's it. Boom, you're done. Job citizen's done, and you're back on.
Basically, you pull up the app. It asks you where you are.
I got it.
It asks you what you're seeing.
A new crime has been reported. And then it's drug dealing on Charter Street. I open it up.
He sees it's real. It's the only one he's got, so he's going to self-assign it, right? There you go. And now it's resolved. It's in the resolved list.
Right.
See, look.
Yeah.
Got it.
A lot of them, right? It's very similar to Uber. Rather than getting picked up by a car, you have a direct connect to the closest police officer, so you're safe.
So you wanted a solution that wouldn't just prevent another burglary in your home. You wanted a solution that would help the city.
Absolutely, because, it was out of control. And so when I looked at it, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to fix the police department.
Sure.
I'm not the mayor, I'm not the police chief, but if I can come up with a unit, a task force, it's not just about the app, it's the whole part of the task force. Is the app, communication with the community, it's the proactive patrolling, it's the GPS that tracks them, it's a sense of safety. I know I have a police on my phone that's in my pocket.
Sidney Torres and state police were out tonight spreading the word about a new smartphone app to help you report suspicious activity. Torres is also paying for off-duty NOPD officers to patrol the French Quarter. He says the app can also help make sure all areas are covered.
So this idea that some folks had, which is the task force is kind of big brother. The task force is these extra surveillance on the street, and I don't want that. I don't want to be surveilled in my own neighborhood. What's the response to that?
The bottom line is that crime was out of control. And at the end of the day, it's like anything that could be done to fix that, I think the critics kind of went away when they started to see the results.
And that's true in the French Quarter, but there's still plenty of questions about the task force. Specifically, how can it extend beyond New Orleans' tourist hub to lower income or more ethnically diverse neighborhoods? But in the 13 by 6 block French Quarter, it has resulted in a massive decrease in those problematic response times.
A witness to a shooting in the French Quarter early this morning used a new app to report it to off-duty NOPD officers. Their response time, less than 2 minutes. Tonight, the app's creator, Sidney Torres, says it's proving to be a powerful tool in the fight against crime in the Quarter.
This is a Polaris ATV.
Bob Sims is the operation manager for the French Quarter Task Force and one of the principal architects responsible for bringing Sidney's idea to life.
We have an iPad. It's almost like a head-up display. When a crime is reported, this beeps, and the officer can see there's a new crime coming in. They can press the button, and they can see what that crime is. And if it's in their zone, if it's in the neighborhood, the area where they're patrolling, then they would actually go out and deal with that particular item.
Essentially, it takes a middleman out of emergency response in the sense that there's no dispatcher. This is officers real-time responding and assigning themselves.
Correct. The task force is community policing. In the past, community policing was just an officer walking around the street. Now, with the task force, we brought some technology into that. Technology to help the officer do his job and also to help the citizens connect with that officer.
Some of the concern about the task force was, are these guys being controlled by someone with no background in policing? Is this a rogue police unit?
I am the superintendent of the police department who gives them the authority to do what they do. While they are in an off-duty capacity, they still have to follow every single rule and regulation, all of which is controlled by the leadership here at the police department.
That unique private-public partnership, Sidney's startup cash combined with the NOPD's management, has produced tangible results. To date, the task force has over 15,000 downloads, and assaults and armed robberies dropped by nearly 30%. So we've heard all about the task force from seemingly everyone in New Orleans, and at a certain point, the only thing left is to take it for a test drive. We're about to hop in a ride-along with the French Quarter Task Force.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's roll.
You get to really smell the French Quarter this way. lively city. God, never sleeps. If the windows are not rolled up, you can hear the residents talking, or you can hear bands. You can, you know what's going on. Yeah, you're in it.
Our routine ride-along turned into a high-speed response pretty quickly, as a crime came in through the app for a disturbance on Bourbon Street. And I have to say, we were on the scene in virtually no time.
French Quarter Task Force really solves the accountability issue. Every single vehicle has a GPS as well as the app, so we know where the officers are, how long it takes them to get to the scene. Every shift is checked. They have their lights on, they're a presence. The French Quarter is way safer because of it.
I do believe that this concept could expand, that this could be a model for policing going forward. It shows that citizens who are willing can come together with the government to solve a common problem.
After Sidney's initial startup funding, the French Quarter Task Force has now been adopted by the New Orleans Convention and Visitors Bureau, which has committed to finance the program for the next 5 years. It's part of an overall bet the city of New Orleans is taking on public-private policing, with the hopes that what has worked in the French Quarter can extend to the far reaches of the city and perhaps beyond.